Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today I have a group of girls and we're going to be talking about the topic of height. This is a question and concern I get a lot from you guys and also something that I see a lot on the internet in general. So I thought it would be enlightening to ask about their personal preferences when it comes to height and also then share some statistics with them. So let's get started. How tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
I am 5'7".
5'3".
I am about 5'10" and a half.
I'm 5 foot. So I'm 5'2" and a half if you want to be specific, but 5'2".
I am 5 foot on a good day.
Would you date a guy who is shorter than you?
Yeah, I have actually.
Oh, really? Okay, that was my next question. Have you ever dated a guy who's shorter than you?
I have. He'll argue that he wasn't, but he was definitely like an inch shorter than me.
Okay, so he was like 5'6".
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you date a guy who was shorter than you?
Yeah.
Have you ever?
I don't think I've actually gone on a date with someone shorter. I've gone on a date with someone who was probably 5'4", 5'5".
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
So just like maybe a little bit taller than you?
Yeah.
Probably not because I'm already pretty short.
Yeah, there's only 2% of men who are 5'3", so.
Yeah. So, probably not.
Have you ever dated a guy who's shorter than you?
I've never met a guy that's shorter than me. I have yet to. I mean, it's possible, but in the Cleveland dating pool, I have not met a guy that's shorter than me.
Absolutely not.
Have you ever?
No.
That would be pretty hard to find. I have not met anyone that is.
Okay.
But you know what? I am open to the idea. You never know until you try. Well, I mean, Danny DeVito, if you're watching this.
Hit Sami up. Okay, so you've never dated a guy who's shorter than you then?
No.
Okay.
I've never, to be honest, I truly don't think I've ever met somebody shorter than me. I have met a guy the same height as me, but not shorter.
Okay. Yeah, only 2% of men are 5'3" or below, so it's very rare.
It's so rare that that wouldn't even happen. But I mean, I wouldn't be against it. All right, I really wouldn't.
I would, but I'm trying to make it a goal not to. I've been having a lot of trouble with that in general.
Okay.
I dated 2 guys who were shorter than me, 2 guys who were taller than me, and I tend to get along better with guys who are taller than me.
Okay, that's interesting because my next question for you was going to be, have you ever dated a guy who's shorter than you? And since you just said that, I would love to know like the differences between the two. Like why did you prefer the tall guys more?
Yeah, so I think it just comes with, what you prefer as a relationship dynamic. For me, I tend to be a very dominant person, but I also want someone who is equally as driven and, wants to impress in life. And so when I find guys who are shorter than me, a lot of times they find me very intimidating. And so when I dated shorter men than me, our dynamic was very odd and it ended up causing a lot of strain in our relationship.
Do you think it was maybe more of like an insecurity than an intimidation thing?
A little bit. I really hate to use the word, but I think that the best way to describe it is that it felt very emasculating to be with a woman who had, bigger physical stature than you, who made a little more money than you, who was a little more outgoing than you. And so it was.
So you think that the guy cared more about those things than you did, and then it kind of maybe bled into the relationship a little bit of the way you interacted with each other, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great way to describe how our relationships were affected.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't care about it as much, but it affected you because of the way that they cared about it.
Exactly. And so now it's something that I do care about more, specifically because of my experience in the past.
So do you think it's just the men that you dated that had those traits, or like the tall guys that you dated, did you not have that experience at all with them? Or do you think that's just your maybe unlucky experience dating the short kings?
That's a fantastic question. I think it could go either way. It very well could be specifically the men that I have dated. With that in mind, I know I used the word intimidation before and it wasn't quite the right word, but to kind of call back to that, even with the men that are taller, I'm still a bit of an intimidating person. So unless they are quite outgoing and everything like that, we still had there was similarities in the dynamic, but they still had that I am the more, because I'm taller, I am still like very masculine in this relationship. I am still contributing very much in this way.
What is the shortest guy that you would want to date?
Probably like 2 inches shorter. Like I could do 5'5", but probably not shorter than that.
Ideally, probably like my height. So like 5'2", 5'3" range would be ideally the shortest I would go.
Gonna throw another wrench into the plan. I have dated somebody who was 5'7". I think now the shortest I would date would be 5'9", and that's kind of pushing it.
Probably 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", as long as I'm not taller than them when I'm wearing heels.
I guess my height.
5'3".
Yeah.
Well, ideally, I would like to date someone probably at least 5'6" or taller, because then I could wear my tallest heels with them. But since I am so short, it's as long as you're a couple inches taller than me. As long as we're not eye level, I'm good.
I think like 5'5". Like I still got to be able to like, if I'm in heels, maybe like 5'4", 5'5".
Okay, that was my next question. It was going to be, would it be a problem for you if you were wearing heels and you were slightly taller than him?
That's going to be tough just because I'm so short. So no, it wouldn't be an issue, but I mean, how high are my heels? I mean, I'm very short, so.
I feel like I'm taller than a lot of people when I wear heels, so no.
I do usually, so when I'm on dating apps or when I'm meeting new people and things like that, I usually look for someone who's around 6'3", because I wear heels almost every day, regardless of my big stature. And so for me, I tend to fall around 6'1", 6'2" on a regular basis.
Nah, not really.
It wouldn't bother me. If anything, I would probably have too much fun with that and get a little bit of my little man syndrome would come out and have my little power trip there. Not really, but maybe.
Yeah, it would make me uncomfortable because I'm already so little.
No. It would be a problem if he was insecure about it. That would be a problem. If I'm wearing heels and I'm having a good time and he can't like get over himself and gas me up, that's the problem. Him being short is not the problem. Him being insecure is the problem.
I think a lot of girls, they're hesitant, they're hesitant to date the shorter guys because they've had the experience with the shorter guy who has like made them feel bad about being taller than them. Or at least I know that was my personal experience. Like I dated a guy who was 5'5", showed up to homecoming, all he said was, "You're so tall," because I was taller than him.
Because he's insecure.
Yeah, and that was where it became an issue. Like I didn't care, but he cared so much that it like trickled into the relationship,
Yeah.
What do you think the average height for a male in the United States is?
5'6"?
I think I've looked this up before, like in college for a study, and I want to say it's like 5'8", maybe 5'9".
5'6"?
5'8", 5'7", 5'8".
5'9"?
I think it's 5'9".
Probably 5'9".
Yep, right on the money. Every girl's getting it. 5'9". And what do you think is the percentage of men that are over 6 feet in the United States?
I'm gonna go like 12 to 15.
Yeah, 14.5.
Okay.
So pretty close there.
40? 30.
14.5.
Really?
There's a lot more short kings than people realize.
That's a tough one. Probably not a lot. Maybe like 70%?
14%.
Okay.
Not a lot, 70%.
70%, like at least half of them.
Oh God, I don't know. 30%?
It's 14.5.
Wow, that was a lot. Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
The ones that are actually over 6 feet are the ones that say they're over 6 feet.
We'll go with actually 6 feet.
I'm gonna say that's probably a pretty small percentage. I'm going to guess 25%.
It's actually 14.5. So even smaller than you thought.
Probably 2%.
It's actually
2 to 3%.
14%.
Really?
14.5.
That's off.
That's in the United States.
In the United States, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you're 5'10". You're in the top, you're in the 99th percentile for women. So for looking at a man, 6'4", 6'3" is around the same percentile as you. So it's not really crazy what you're asking for, to be honest, given your height. I mean, it is, because the there's not that many of them. But if anybody's justified, it's you.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense when you look at it that way, but if we're looking at kind of overlapping in the sense of like, is this 1% going to find that 2%? It's not always
Right.
as easy, but it makes sense in the back of my mind. Like, so
Right.
we can always be hopeful.
Would you say height's a deal breaker for you?
I would say so.
Okay.
As long as they're not shorter than me, I don't really care too much. Because like my ex was like 5'7", and it really didn't bother me at all. Like, it actually wasn't even a factor when I met him because I'm so short. You know what I mean? Like, he was still like significantly taller than me, like with heels, without heels. So
Okay. So as long as he's taller than you, you really don't care.
yeah, no.
I'll be really honest. I think when I was younger, like in college, like late, like 18, 19, and then into college, yeah, I would say I was a big judger of height. I only wanted a guy who was like 6'2" or taller. But I'm pretty tall. So in my mind at that age, I was like, okay, if you're not that tall, then I'm, not interested. As I've gotten older, and I think this holds true for a lot of women, you kind of realize that there are a lot more important things than how tall your partner is. Values, alignment in those areas. So it doesn't weigh as heavily now as it might have when I was younger.
Got it. So you get older, you realize what's really important.
Yeah.
You look back at all the short kings you rejected, and you're
Yep.
like, well,
I'm like, dang it, one of those could have been the one.
No, not at all.
no.
One of my best friends is in like a very solid relationship, and she's the tall one. And supposedly, I guess I don't have proof, but she claims they have a great sex life. So that has dispelled all concerns for me.
No,
Okay.
no.
No. And I've said, multiple times to multiple people, height is very, very important to me. However, I will take the shorter guy if he has more desirable characteristics.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of more important things in the world.
Nah, doesn't really faze me, to be honest.
No. I would say who you are as a person is a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, height isn't really that relevant, and I think our society places too much emphasis on the height factor when really I think that that's more of a nice to have on a list and shouldn't really be a main factor of saying yes or no to someone just based on their height. I think that when you have such a hard stop on height, then you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities just because you're stuck on a very superficial factor of someone.
Why do you think girls want to date a guy who is tall? Like, what is it about it?
That's a really good question. I think I can speak probably for myself mostly. I think when I was younger, I felt insecure and just like a giant when I was with a guy or talking, basically with a guy that was shorter than me. I don't want to like call out my friends that are shorter than me. I didn't feel like that with them. But when I would go on a date with a guy that was shorter than me, it almost made me feel like the masculine one in the group or in the relationship. I know that sounds odd, but you just feel like bigger. And so it kind of made me feel really insecure. And I know that's I don't want to use the word shallow, but looking back, it was like a shallow reason to kind of push them aside. But it really did make me feel uncomfortable and insecure.
So it was your own insecurity that was causing you to then project that into your dating life.
Exactly.
And who you were choosing.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the guys. It was definitely an internal feeling for me.
So being with a taller guy made you feel more small and more feminine. A lot of girls want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, safety is not necessarily a factor. I know it would be for a lot of women, but again, being someone who is big and who has played a lot of sports and things like that, I can pretty much take care of myself in that sense. But there is something, being somebody who, again, thrown the word out there a couple times, is very dominant in natural life. It's nice to not be the dominant person anymore. And a lot of times that does, again, come with the larger stature and a man. So being taller makes me feel like a normal-sized human.
I don't want short kids. I mean, if I have like a little boy, I don't want him, that's saying if we were to have a family, if we, that's what everyone thinks that they're going to, but I just don't want a short little boy. I mean, a short little girl, that's fine. I'm 5 foot tall. My dad is 6'1". My mom's 5 foot. So I guess it doesn't always work out that way anyways. So I don't know. Height doesn't really matter to me. I just don't want to date a short guy. You need to be able to reach things that I can't reach.
Well, first of all, girls are always, not just girls, a lot of people are just shat on for being bigger. Women specifically are shat on for being bigger. And so we like feeling small. We like feeling like we can be cute and little. And so I think it's harder for us to be confident about ourselves when we're constantly feeling big and like monstrous.
Yeah, so if you're taller than a guy, kind of projects that insecurity onto it.
Yeah, it invites an insecurity. And I think I know that like I have a lot of friends who might care about height and like size. I don't care about it as much, I think, because I have such a big personality. I take up a lot of space no matter what, that it's like I had to get over the fear of me being too big for my own britches pretty early, I would say. So I don't think about that too much, I guess.
I see the appeal because maybe, obviously making assumptions again, but like taller men are maybe more like, oh, he's tall, he can protect me, I feel safe. It's like a comfort thing maybe.
Because it's attractive and it's more masculine to me, I don't want to feel like I'm wearing the pants when it comes to like when you look at a couple physically. You know, I have a strong personality. I want a guy that is more masculine than my masculinity, because every female is we have a little bit of masculine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you have that factor where they're a little taller than you, you know, they can like kind of hug you and you're still like, you know, your shoulders don't match.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you don't want to be looking down on someone.
No.
Right? And like we said earlier in the last video, I know other people didn't watch that, so they might not have heard, but it makes you feel kind of more feminine too sometimes if a guy is taller than you.
Yes, it does.
I think it comes down to a lot of factors. I mean, we all have our lizard brain, and I think that's something where we're also having this pushed on us too, of you want to have someone bigger than you who can protect you, who can, you know, save you essentially. And I think that we've had these Disney standards pushed on us our whole lives, that image is stuck in your head of I need to find a tall guy, when that's just a nice to have. And you know, you're gonna, what is 14% of men are that type or that height. And so I think that I don't know, I just lost my train of thought.
No, but that was a great answer. I think you're absolutely right. When something is emphasized to you that it is so important, when you see it all the time on social media or in Disney stuff, like you've said before, like it's always the tall guy and the short girl. It makes girls want that more, I think.
But then also people rag on the shorter guys too for just being shorter, and I think having social media and just seeing this, it's just pushed in your face all the time, and I think you see the negative sides of that pushed in your face even more, and so it's just a perfect storm really of a lose-lose, I think, in that situation. And I think that because social media is so elevated and you just see a very small percentile of what these expectations are lived up to be, and also people could be lying too. So I think that it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, and we're all buying into it, unfortunately.
Yep. So if it was your dream guy in every way except for his height, it's not a deal breaker for you. You would date him.
Yeah.
Okay. Up to 5'5".
Yeah, I say that, but like I don't know if
Yeah.
if he ends up being 5'4" and he's literally perfect for me, then I would hope that I wouldn't close that door, you know.
And how tall is your boyfriend now?
He is 6 foot.
So if it was your dream guy in every way except for his height, you don't even care. You would date him.
No, exactly.
We're gonna compromise.
Okay. Okay. So there's other things that are more important to you then.
Then height.
Got it. Okay. What other attributes do you care more about that would like totally outrank height?
Totally outrank height. So many. Sense of humor, huge one. I've also heard, this is just me hearing things now, but I've heard that when women say they like a sense of humor, they like a man that can make them laugh. And when men say they like a sense of humor, they mean they like women who laugh at their jokes.
I have also heard that.
That's insane to me, because that's looking for two completely different things.
Yeah.
But it's ironic because I'd be looking for the same thing. I'm looking for a guy who can make me laugh, and he's probably looking, but I'm fucking funny. I need a guy who can admit that I'm funny. So sense of humor, big one. Emotional intelligence, huge, very difficult to find. But when I meet a man who's emotionally intelligent, oh my God, it doesn't matter what you look like. You just became so attractive in my book.
Yeah, I think personality and even just like the way you communicate matters so much more to women. You want to have some level of attraction, but I do think it can boost a guy 3-4 points.
If he's a good tipper. Like if you're like out for drinks and he's being like assertive, like I don't even want to see the bill type thing. Things like for me aren't really about money. It's about like how you take charge of the situation.
Okay. So being more like dominant or confident in other areas
Yes.
to make up for the fact that you're a little bit shorter.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll say that they all kind of fall even for me. However, if there are more things going for them that are all at the same level, it kind of outweighs the height. And so a really big thing for me is somebody who is very empathetic. I think there aren't enough empaths in the world anymore. Being able to communicate well is really important. Communication relationship is something that you hear time and time again, and there's a reason for that. And then this one does fall slightly lower because, again, I'm fine for myself, but I think somebody who has drive, and usually a good indicator of that is what they make or what they're aiming to make down the road. You know, doesn't necessarily have to be realistic for them, but if they are saying, you know what, this is what I want to do with my life, this is where I want to be, this is, you know, the path that I want to take, I have some sort of dream, to me, that's really, really important as well.
Okay, so, and clearly you've dated guys who are shorter, and I'm sure that they had a lot of those characteristics that outweighed the height, and it was something you could overlook because of the other positive traits that they had.
Yeah, and I think when you say that, I'm specifically recalling some of my relationships. Something else that was really important for me, and I think that we talked about this earlier, was them being outgoing. I am an extroverted introvert, so I get along well with people when I go out socially, things like that. But when I recharge my battery, I do it alone. So I want someone that brings me into new experiences that I've never had before and encourages me to try new things.
Right, and that could be a short king, you never know.
Exactly.
I need somebody that's loyal and a provider. Like, we can both be the providers, but I need you to, like I said earlier, you need to be able to match me. Very loyal and just fun. Down to do new things, always vacationing, just doing fun things. Having a fun lifestyle.
For me personally, it's emotional intelligence and availability. That is something that in just my own personal experiences with being in relationships, I haven't really dated a lot of men who were able to really get my emotion or like understand emotion. And I'm a very emotional person. And I don't want to rely on somebody in that way, but I need to be with somebody who can at least understand what I'm going through and is able to talk to me about my emotions and theirs. You know, I can't be like guessing like, okay, are you mad? Why are you mad? Are you upset? Why are you upset? Why won't you talk to me? Like, I need to have somebody who at least understands emotions and is able to communicate with me like, hey, I am upset because of A, B, and C. That to me is really, really big. Something that I didn't think that I would want until actually kind of recently. So, yeah.
And I think the internet also makes it seem like men should never open up.
It's a stereotype with men, I think,
Yeah.
that like they need to be like these big masculine, like we don't show emotion, nothing bothers us. And to me, that's more of a turnoff because at the end of the day, we are all human, and I know that you feel emotion. You do. I mean, we all do.
You're not a robot.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to communicate that with me, it's not going to work with us. Yeah.
All right, so much more to consider than just height.
Oh, yeah.
For all the guys watching, not all girls care about you being 6 feet, my friends.
I'm sorry they don't. Yeah.
If you were taller, do you think that you would feel even like more strongly about height, like being with a taller guy?
Probably. Height wise, yes. If I was like 5'10", I would definitely feel more strongly about dating somebody who's a little bit taller than me. Just because of those things I said earlier.
I have not been in that position before, so it's kind of hard to say, but I think that, again, it just comes down to being realistic about what you're actually looking for in somebody, and if that person happens to be shorter than you, then really what's the issue other than just, you know, their height? And my dad and my brother both married women taller than them, and so I've seen that not really be an issue, and so I guess I just have a more realistic idea of what that dynamic looks like, and also I've seen it be in a really positive way. So while it seems unlikely that anyone I would date would be 5 foot or shorter than me, I think I would owe it to myself to at least keep an open mind about that person and not just keep a wall up, as I said, of just, you know, feeding into this expectation, because height really is just, I think, in my opinion, just on a wish list.
Yeah, it's more of a preference rather than
Yeah.
a deal breaker, yeah. Do you think that being taller makes you automatically feel more dominant? Like it kind of makes you step into that a little bit more?
I think so. And I know a number of tall women as well who are a little more shy and less dominant. But for me, in the way that I was raised, coupled with that height, I think it just naturally is the way that I ended up.
Okay. So then when you're with a guy who's taller, it could maybe make you feel a bit more feminine.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, that's all I have for this video. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. Also, if you like this style of video and you want to see me bring more girls onto my channel, please let me know down below. Would love to hear some other topics or questions you would like us to answer and cover. Would love to hear your feedback down in the comments. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.